Shabbat Shalom. After 2 weeks, two parshiot that deal with skin diseases and lots of kind of yucky things, the narrative of Vayikra of Leviticus returns. And this week's parsha of Achrei Mot begins with a reminder of the deaths of Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Avihu, who, as you will remember from Parshat Shmini 3 weeks ago, were killed because they offered an Eish Zara, a strange fire, and encroaching on the altar in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, in ways that were not commanded by God. The Torah reminds us of the deaths of Nadav and Avihu, not just as a literary technique to reconnect us to the real story of Leviticus, but I think as we enter into Pesach, to remind us of what we need to do this coming Monday night as we sit down at our Seders. In the story in Shmini about the deaths of Nadav and Avihu, after they die, Moshe instructs their cousins to go and remove them from the Mishkan with their ketonet, their priestly garments on. So the Talmud in Sanhedrin wonders aloud, how is it possible for them to be consumed by a fire, yet still have their clothing on? And the answer is because Nadav and Avihu had their souls consumed by the fire, but their bodies remained intact. They were dead inside and whole on the outside. And I have to believe that there is a metaphor in that notion that their souls died but their bodies remained alive. Because there are people walking this planet whose bodies are very much alive, but whose souls have withered and dried up and died. We spend a great deal of energy feeding our bodies, because if not for food, we would die. But our souls hunger as well as our bodies. And how much time do we spend feeding our souls? And if we don't feed our souls, it will wither and die. And so as we enter into our Seders on Monday night, when we've spent so much energy and time and money preparing for that meal, collecting recipes, poring over menus, shopping lists, how many times do we have to go back to the grocery store to pick up something that we forgot or thought was supposed to be there, or come up with a new recipe and go back to the store and prepare for it, and then serve that food as part of the Seder? And what do we talk about forever? The great brisket, the chicken soup, the matzah balls, the food. But the Haggadah is the telling. The Haggadah is more concerned with feeding our souls than our bodies. And that seems to be one of the main lessons of Pesach that we can take with us the rest of the year. Do we feed our souls? Do we spend our time in diversions? Are we more consumed with Dancing with the Stars and American Idol, American idolatry? Or do we study Torah? Do we read a good book? Do we learn something new and exciting and interesting every day? Do we think up of menus for feeding our souls? Do we take prayer seriously and try to connect our soul with the ground of all being and be nurtured by God? Or are we only concerned with that which is physical, that which is monetary, that which is material? As we sit down to our Seders Monday night, may we feed our souls even more than we feed our bodies. And you all know that meal is going to be delicious. Shabbat Shalom. May you have a Zisen Shabbos and a kosher and a freilich Pesach. See you in Shul.